Hello, Dr. Nicola with Pura Vida here, and I wanted to talk to you today about the various ways that anxiety can manifest in the body. I think some of us really are aware, some of us who are working with anxiety really know that's part of our the sandbox that we're playing in, but a lot of people don't realize because stress and overwhelm and busyness have become so normalized in our society, we don't necessarily realize that we're actually having physical symptoms that are related to anxiety, stress, and overwhelm. And so I wanted to bring your awareness to that today because I think it's so very important. And it really was highlighted for me with a client I was working with last week who was experiencing a lot of chest pain. She's in her mid 50s, and this chest pain was kind of coming on and off. It wasn't consistent, and she was really concerned about it. Wasn't sure why it was there. Had gotten checked out by her primary, and nothing was specifically was there. And so she and I were talking about a variety of things. And then we dropped into a mind body level where we talked about all the transitions that were happening in her life. Kind of moving into retirement, moving locations where they're living, shifts in her relationship with her partner as they navigate these big life changes, and retirement impacts everybody a little different, certainly different for men and women. All three of her children have, left the house. So her life is really, really different. And so we were talking about how that might be impactful and how she hadn't really let herself feel into the true impact of all of these transitions because it was supposed to be fun. They had moved to somewhere really fun that most of us would be jealous about. Now you're free from your children. You've created this business you're able to retire from. All of these things should be awesome. And so there wasn't really any room in her system for grief and loss and sadness and longing and nostalgia and all of these emotions that come with transitions as well. So we started talking about those pieces, and she noticed the sensation in her chest actually starting to lessen and shift. And then we dropped into some deeper patterns that were from her earlier childhood that had been really playing out in how she was showing up today and the space she was giving herself. And so once we went through those layers, so it was kind of like what's happening on a physical level, what's happening on that transition level, what's happening in the heart level, and then what's happening in that cellular memory level. We moved through all of these different places. And by the end of one session, she's having no more chest pain anymore. So that's a really beautiful thing. But nowhere had it occurred to her that what she was experiencing could be related to some unresolved emotions that were just kind of causing this underlying angst. It was causing her to feel doubt in her own person. She wasn't really sure if she was okay. She was being pretty hard on herself. And I think so many of us can relate to this, where rather than drop in and get closer to our feelings, we tend to judge ourselves for how we're feeling or how we're experiencing something, especially when we're going away from how we should feel. And then that anxiety, that tension between what's here and what we think should be here grows and grows and grows and grows. And then that anxiety ends up manifesting. And I can't tell you how many different physical manifestations of stress that I have seen in the body, from high blood pressure to diabetes, chronic fatigue, chronic pain, autoimmune issues, depression, anxiety, dementia. Is often a ticket out of dealing with the things we haven't wanted to look at. There's so many places that we can show physical symptoms. And so if you are experiencing any physical symptoms, can you use that as a portal into a deeper level of understanding between what is actually here for you versus what your mind has told you should be here? And if we start to do this, we can really start to get to the underlying cause of any symptoms that we're experiencing in the body. And I want to kind of shatter the belief that mental symptoms or mental health doesn't have a physical health correlation. I think most of us think about panic and we think about upset stomachs or, elevated heart rate or headache, something like that. But we don't think about these more subtle connections. And we also are hesitant to identify as someone who experiences anxiety, which is really just this sense of worry that won't leave us, or this constant machinations of the mind. And that's really, anxiety can be as simple as that. It doesn't have to be this big blown up thing, but studies are showing us that over 60% of Americans are now dealing with some form of anxiety. So it's actually really, really common. And that's people who are reporting symptoms. So I want you to know that you're not alone. And my invitation to you is to use these symptoms, even if they are in the mental realm, to get closer to what's actually happening and create some space to be with it. You do not have to know what to do with it right away. You can simply be with it, and that is enough to shift things. I do have an anxiety program starting at the end of January 2025. If you're interested, I'll post a link below. I'd love to see you there. If you enjoyed this talk today, I'd love to, if you could like or share or follow me, I would really appreciate it. And we will see you next time. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.